Before smartphones and GPS, road trips required planning, patience, and sometimes a little luck. Traveling across America meant reading maps, asking strangers for directions, and occasionally getting completely lost. At the kitchen table, the journey began long before the engine turned over. A stack of folded maps, glossy AAA tour books, and a freshly printed triptych booklet formed the heart of the family's preparations. The triptych, spiral-bound and personalized with each turn highlighted in blue, felt like a secret weapon. Mom ran a finger down the page, double-checking the route from home to the first rest stop, while Dad penciled in mileage estimates and gas station notes in the margins. Children hovered nearby, lobbying for window seats and arguing over who would get to hold the atlas. Packing lists grew on scraps of paper, snacks, camera film, a first aid kit, and a road atlas just in case the triptych ran out before the final state line. The ritual was both practical and hopeful. Each item checked off, each page flipped, brought the promise of adventure closer. The act of planning was as much about dreaming as about directions. Every map unfolded across the table was a canvas for possibility. Every highlighter streak a line drawn toward the unknown. Before the trunk closed, the family performed their own quiet ceremony. The triptych was spread across the hood of the car, the route traced one last time in the morning light. It was a moment of shared confidence, a belief that with enough preparation, the road would yield its secrets. The final sound, the trunk slamming shut, signaled that the journey was real and that the open highway was waiting. If you enjoy nostalgic documentaries about everyday life in the past, consider subscribing for more stories like this. The first miles always felt different once the car rolled onto the interstate. The hum of the engine settled into a steady drone, and the world outside the window blurred into a ribbon of asphalt and green mileposts. Dad kept one eye on the odometer and the other on the next exit sign, timing each turnoff by matching the numbers on the dashboard to the green markers along the highway. If the trip called for a rest stop at mile 212, he would jot down the odometer reading in a pocket notebook, then check it again as the miles ticked by. This simple math, odometer minus milepost, became a quiet ritual, a way to make sure the car was on course even when the road signs faded into the afternoon glare. Up front, the CB radio crackled to life, its static broken by bursts of code and laughter. Channel 19 was the lifeline for travelers and truckers alike. 10-4, good buddy, drifted from the speaker, followed by weather tips and warnings about speed traps. The kids in the back seat listened with a mix of confusion and delight, trying to decode the language of the highway. Every now and then, Dad would pick up the mic to check on traffic or ask for the nearest open gas station. During the oil embargo of 1973, these conversations turned serious. News of long gas lines and closed pumps traveled faster over the airwaves than through any official bulletin. In 1974, the new 55 miles per hour speed limit slowed the journey even more. Families learned to budget time differently, stopping more often and planning fuel stops with extra caution. The road itself was both promise and puzzle. Every exit was a potential detour, every milepost a checkpoint in the unfolding adventure. Out here, navigation was not just about following a line on a map, but about reading the subtle clues of the highway, numbers, voices, and the rhythm of the car beneath your feet. Neon signs flickered to life long before the car rolled to a stop. Out on the highway, a glowing Motel 6 marquee or the sweeping roofline of a chrome diner promised shelter and a hot meal, their colors cutting through the night like beacons. These businesses understood what families needed: a clean bed, a safe place to park, and a familiar name to trust. The first Motel 6 opened in 1962, offering rooms for exactly $6 a night. By the late 1970s, the formula had spread, with Super 8, Howard Johnson's, and Holiday Inn all competing to be the night's landing spot. Each chain boasted the same predictable comforts, from ice machines to in-room color TV, easing the worries of travelers far from home. Inside the lobby, Mom handled the paperwork with a tired but grateful smile. The attendant slid a registration card across the counter, sometimes asking for an AAA membership number or offering a coupon clipped from the tour book. Children eyed the vending machines, already picturing a midnight snack. The glow of the neon outside was more than decoration. It was a promise of safety. After several high-profile motel fires in the late 1970s, safety codes changed. By 1978, new rules required smoke detectors and better fire escapes, and some older motels closed their doors rather than retrofit. Still, the best places kept up, knowing that a good night's rest and a safe stay mattered as much as a low price. For families, that glowing sign meant the end of another day's adventure and the start of a peaceful night, no matter how far from home they'd traveled. Not every family could count on a warm welcome at the end of a long day's drive. For black travelers and other marginalized groups, the open road came with its own set of risks. Victor Green's Negro Motorist Green Book, published from 1936 to 1966, became an essential companion. Its pages listed hotels, restaurants, gas stations, and beauty parlors where black motorists could expect fair treatment. The listings often clustered along major highways, Route 66, US 40, and the Dixie Highway, mapping a parallel network of safety that ran alongside the main routes. In some towns, a small sign in a window that read "Colored Welcome" meant the difference between a restful night and a night spent searching for shelter. Even after the Civil Rights Act, many families kept a green book on the dashboard, just in case. Oral histories recall the relief of finding a listed business after hours of uncertainty, and the pride of owners who built their livelihoods on offering hospitality when others would not. These guides weren't just about directions, they were about dignity, security, and the right to travel freely. The Green Book's quiet presence on the American highway reminds us that every journey held its own challenges, and that the story of the road was always bigger than a single family or a single map. Missing an exit on Interstate 40 could feel like a disaster, especially with hungry kids in the back seat and the next gas station miles away. But on a chilly morning in 1971, a family's wrong turn spun them off the new interstate and straight onto a quiet stretch of Route 66. The old highway, once the main artery west, had been bypassed just months before. Storefronts stood silent, and the painted road shields looked faded under the wide New Mexico sky. The car rolled to a stop in front of a diner with a hand-lettered sign promising homemade pie. Inside, the air smelled of coffee and cinnamon. The owner, a woman in her 60s with silver hair pinned up, set aside her crossword and welcomed them like regulars. She poured coffee for the parents, chocolate milk for the kids, and slid a slice of warm apple pie across the counter. Between bites, she traced their route on a napkin, pointing out where the new interstate cut away from the old road. She told them stories of busier days, when truckers filled every stool and the jukebox never went silent. The family lingered, their frustration fading with each forkful of pie. By the time they found their way back to the highway, the detour had become the best part of the day, a story they would tell for years, and a reminder that sometimes getting lost is the only way to find something worth remembering. A Polaroid camera, cool to the touch, waited on the back seat, ready for the next unexpected view. The ritual of memory-making started with the click and whir of instant film, children leaning over the front seat, eager to watch the image fade in, a sun-bleached sign or a crooked smile frozen in time. By the late 1970s, Polaroids had become as common on the road as the Atlas itself, their white borders filling glove compartments and scrapbooks with proof of places and faces along the way. Evenings brought their own traditions. After dinner, a slide projector hummed in a darkened motel room, casting moments from earlier in the day onto a blank wall. The soft shuffle of slides and the gentle laughter of siblings recalling who called shotgun first that morning created a private theater on the road. These artifacts, the blurred shots of a roadside dinosaur, the group photo in front of a neon sign, became anchors for stories retold at family gatherings years later. In the quiet between towns, games filled the car, counting out-of-state plates, spotting cows, inventing stories for passing strangers. The youngest child often became the keeper of the day's best memory, tasked with choosing which Polaroid would be saved for the trip's growing deck. Long after the car turned for home, those images and rituals lingered, reminders that the journey was more than miles. It was a moving album, built one small adventure at a time. Before digital maps, every journey moved slower, wandered more, and invited real adventure. Those unpredictable miles, mapped by hand and guided by strangers, still shape the most vivid road trip memories. Even now, what we remember most isn't the perfect route, but the stories found by getting a little lost. If you enjoy nostalgic documentaries about everyday life in the past, consider subscribing for more stories like this.